terms of a rose plant. I had an opportunity through email and talking to Katie prior to the show. Here's a quote from Katie. "This is the best landscape rose ever developed. It's called the Knockout Double Blooming. I have only the red available. We had pink a while back and they're already gone. We started with 14,000 of these and there are now fewer than 6,000 available. The comparable retail value on this is almost $45. Our price is under $20. Now I want to take you back real quick, and Katie, I'm sure you have a similar story, and so will so many of our audience members. My mother loved roses. My mother is from Scotland. She passed away many years ago. We had a rose garden that was on the side of the house, and my mother spent hours in that rose garden. And my mother was one who you never heard angry, but she hated aphids, the little bugs that would eat at roses, and the little diseases, and she would cry when a rose bush didn't do well. She never had roses this prolifically, and this is actually the easiest rose bush in terms of hardiness and disease resistance that I think we have ever done. Look how many roses are on this. Katie, you guys outdid yourselves.
It's true, Dan. And you know, I wish that your mom had the breeding technology of the Knockout, because it was not any fault of hers. It was just that breeding wasn't there.
Yep.
This is truly, when we say it's a double blooming, we're referring to the petals here. So you're getting, I want people just to think of the Knockout like a flowering shrub, just like any easy flowering shrub. Because sometimes people hear roses and they think like your mom. They need to spend hours fussing over them, picking off beetles, but don't think of this plant like that. This is just going to be that workhorse magnet in your garden. It will bloom in these double petals, so it's going to be loaded with flowers, but it will bloom all season long. I have about maybe 12 Knockout rose shrubs all around my house. They will work in any conditions. Now, like any rose, the more sun you give them, the more they'll bloom.
Yep.
But they will bloom basically for 5 seasons. I mean, they've already started. They're loaded with buds right now here in April. So May, June, July, August, September, they will be blooming. This year we had a pretty mild fall. They were still blooming in October. So these are going to be that burst of color, that easy plant that will not quit in your garden.
And to me, this is, again, the best $20 that you can spend to define a garden. For so many of us, my wife and I have lived at the farmhouse that we live in for 18 years. There were no gardens at all when we moved in, none. So we started those gardens, and now they're very established, but it's the same garden that I had last year, and it's the same garden I had 4 years ago. So what things like this do is allow you to now put the bookends on either side of a garden, or expand it out a little bit, so that now you have different shapes of the garden itself, and now you have anchors of bright colors of red. And a rose is probably the easiestly discernible flower for even people who don't garden at all. And for many years, like orchids, roses were kind of the defining factor of just how good a gardener you were. If you could grow great roses, you were a master. With this, there's no work in it at all, Katie.
No, you're right. I mean, like we said, I wish that your mom could have a rose like this, because it really is so easy. It makes you look like one of those professional gardeners. What I have with these at my house is I have a hedge of them. And so I have about 4 or 5 planted together, and
Wow.
they create this wall of color. So if you're looking to block out an area, you know, maybe define a garden room, or just cover up something, or just if you want beautiful color all season long. I mean, spring, summer, and even into fall. Now, depending on where you live, that'll be a little different, but the double petals, they're perfect for cutting and bringing indoors. So they're not going to be a long stem rose like maybe you're thinking or
Right.
you're used to, but that's because they are disease resistant. They're not like a traditional rose.
Well,
They're going to be super easy to care for. No bug or pest problems.
Yep. And limited, if you look, limited thorns. Because the ones that my mother grew, the long stem ones, it was right by the driveway. And so us kids would ride by on our bikes, and the regular thorns would jump out and grab you With these are much softer and friendlier. And what I have here, and I've got it in a pot, is a 3-year-old plant. So these will thrive and thrive for decades. We have them at less than half of what they would normally be expected to be paid for. Normally they're about $45, $44.95. We're at $19.95. Think about picking up, if you can, 4 or 5 so that you've got them in different areas. I love that photo of really a hedge of roses, and I'll put it back up because that defines that area. It looks almost like a theme park. Katie, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. It is so gorgeous. And I mean, that is really, truly what these flowers do. You know, sometimes when you guys see pictures, you're asking me, well, you guys are professionals. No, these knockout roses, not this variety, not this color, not the double, but sometimes they're planted along median strips.
Yep.
So these are truly that easy care plant. And that's why I say they are the best landscape rose, because you plant them, you forget them. They really don't even need pruning like your traditional rose needs to be pruned late winter to make it bloom better. You can prune these to control their shape, but you don't need to.
You don't
so
have
that's
to.
really why these are such a great plant. No, because they're such an easy care rose that make you look like a professional gardener with the way that they bloom so profusely.
Katie, we started with 14,000. We have 5,000 left. I'll tell you the reason why I love them so much. Out of all of our senses, our sense of smell or fragrance is the one most closely linked to memory. My mother loved roses. So having a few of these on my property, every time I walk by them, I think of her. Great item. Coming up.
I love
we're going
love
straight
that.
to it? Okay. Here's another one, and pardon me, I'm reminiscing like crazy. My mother also loved lavender.